Title: The House of Dreams. The dream made reality. Sophie and Ethan had always dreamed of having a house in the suburbs, a quiet place where they could raise their family. After years of saving and planning, they finally found the perfect property. An old house but full of charm, surrounded by fruit trees, colorful flowers, and a large garden. Ethan, a tar architect lintoso, saw the house's potential from the first moment. Sophie, an interior designer, was excited about the idea of transforming every corner of the house into a home full of love and personalidad. This is the place, said Sophie, looking at the house with eyes full of emotion. Ethan smiled and hugged her. He knew that this would be a new chapter full of challenges, but also of many joys. Thanks. The transformation. The house needed work, but Sophie and Ethan were ready for the challenge. They spent weeks painting the walls, changing the furniture, fixing the garden, and creating a space that felt like their own. The kitchen became the heart of the house, with a wooden table that Ethan had handmade and a bench with comfortable cushions, where Sophie used to sit RSE while having her morning coffee. Sophie's favorite part was the main room, which she decided to turn into a sanctuary. Soft light blue walls, white curtains that let abandoned natural light, and a small terrace where they could relax and watch the sunset together. During the renovation days, their love for the house grew more and more, as did their mutual love. Something special in the process. In the fact of building their future together, stone by stone, brushstroke by brushstroke. The mysterious neighbor. At first, life in their new house seemed like a dream. The days passed happily, enjoying the garden, cooking together, and decorating the home. But there was something strange that Sophie could not stop noticing. A mysterious neighbor who always observed them. From his window. An older man, who lived in a nearby house, never went out much, but he always seemed to be aware of everything that was happening. Sophie and Ethan tried to ignore him at first, but every time they passed in front of his house, they felt that the man was watching them from a distance. One day, after weeks of curiosity, Sophie decided to approach him. She went to his door. First, she knocked gently and waited. The man, whose name was Frank, received her with a kind, though somewhat distant, smile. "Hello, I'm Sophie, the neighbor from next door. I've noticed that you're always over there, and I thought it would be good to greet you." Frank looked at her, a little surprised, and then smiled with a little laugh. "Well, I like to observe the life that flourishes around me, and you two seem we are building something beautiful here." Sophie smiled, although the conversation left her with a strange feeling. Why was that man watching so much? She decided not to give it too much importance, but a spark of intrigue remained lit in her mind. The welcome party. To show their gratitude and break the ice, Sophie and Ethan decided to organize a welcome party in their garden. They invited all the nearby neighbors and some friends, hoping to make new connections in their new community. The party was a complete success. There was laughter, delicious food, a y musica allegra. The children played in the garden, while the adults chatted animatedly. Sophie and Ethan were happy, surrounded by new friends and enjoying the relaxed atmosphere. As the night went on, Sophie saw Frank in the corner of the garden, watching the party from afar. She decided to approach him once more. "Would you like to join?" Sophie asked, trying to be amiable. Frank smiled shyly but shook his head. "I'm not much of a party person, but I'm glad to see you're all happy here." Sophie spent a moment talking to him, discovering that Frank had, "I lived in that house for more than 40 years, but I had never had a family of my own." The conversation was calm, and Frank seemed warmer than she had imagined. An unexpected turn over time, Sophie and Ethan felt increasingly comfortable in their new home, and their life together continued full of laughter and love. Max, the family dog, also enjoyed his new garden, happily running around there. One day, while Sophie was in the garden, she noticed that Frank was approaching with something in his hand. It was a small old box, wrapped with a red ribbon. "What is this?" asked Sophie, surprised. "It's a gift for you," said Frank, with a melancholic smile. "My mother used to make these memory boxes. I thought it would be appropriate to give it to you. It's a memento. I say that no matter where you live, the most important thing is the love you share." Sophie opened the box carefully, and inside she found a series of old letters and black and white photographs. They were memories of a bygone era, memories of Frank's family and their love story that had never been forgotten. Thank you, Frank. This is incredibly significant, said Sophie, moved. A for the gesture. The blessing of the house. As the years went by, Sophie and Ethan's house became a home full of love, laughter, and memories. Frank's presence in their lives also. He became closer, like a father figure who offered them wisdom and affection, although in a reserved way. One afternoon, while everyone gathered in the garden to celebrate a special occasion, Sophie looked at Ethan, Max, and Frank, and knew that, despite the ups and downs, this house had become her place of happiness. It was more than a house. It was her home, full of blessings, remembered dues, and the promise of a future full of love. This is our dream, said Sophie, while hugging Ethan. And it's the best we've ever had, answered Ethan, smiling while looking at Frank. Far away, the sun began to set, bathing the house in a golden light that seemed to seal the love and peace they had found there. End.